What is going on, guys? Welcome into Stock Talk with Eco Criticos. Today, we're going to be talking about two of my stocks that fell huge today, but I sold most of my shares over the past couple of weeks, and I'm pretty happy that I did. You can call it luck, you can call it skill. I don't know what you want to call it, but I am happy that I took profits where I did. I had a couple shares remaining in each one of these companies today, and I sold most of them. I think I kept one or two shares of each company just because I like to watch, where it goes and stuff. But those two stocks were Super Microcomputer, ticker SMCI, and then AMD. And both of these, I pretty much made my positions in back in around well, AMD, no, it was even before April. So February and March was when I made my positions. And now we're in August, right? So I had pretty good returns. I want to say, so let's go through SMCI first. This was my number one stock pick for this year. And for a while, it actually was not moving as quick as I thought it was going to move because so I bought this right here. The night, February 3rd is the night that I posted that this is my number one pick. I was super confident. It just looked undervalued and pretty much their case for them being fraudulent was pretty much disproven. And so I wasn't worried about that. Well, then what do you know? Within 2 weeks, the stocks doubled and it's at $60. I said, okay, wow, that moved a lot faster than I thought. And, I thought maybe it would keep going or it would stay around there, but no, it dropped, it came back down, and then, it struggled for these few months here, it struggled. And just these last couple weeks, it worked its way back up to $60, and I took a good amount of, so I actually have 5 shares left of this, but still, it's only 200 bucks. But I sold most of my shares just in between this 50 and up to $60 range. So I'm happy I did that because I mean this is what happens sometimes. These stocks, even though they could be good companies with a good future, they have bad earnings, they have bad sentiment comes or something happens, the stock's down 15-20%. So that's what happened with SMCI. So that look, it is what it is. Let's look at the valuation. This is the last 5 months for SMCI, and as you can see, as of today, the P ratio was up to 31 on this stock, which is pretty much, higher than where it's been the last 5 years, besides for this 1 point last year. So that's a high valuation. Um, and that was, I would say, around the 60. I thought maybe there was a chance the stock could see $80 plus or something, but honestly, $60 was kind of like my minimum. That was like my base case for where I saw the stock going. Because again, you multiply their EPS times whatever, 21 times earnings, and you got around $60, I believe. So I'm happy that worked out the way it did, and I would say I would maybe buy the stock back if it went. I would buy the stock again if it went back down to, let's say, $30 or so. But at 48, it's not really a deal right now, so I wouldn't really do that. The next one on my list is going to be AMD, and see, the funny thing is with these companies, a couple of these companies, is this past week I was like, man, I was like, especially like AMD, AMD hit what? Just this past week, it was at $180. That was a week ago. And I'm like, wow, like maybe I shouldn't have been selling these shares the past week or two because, the AMD could be $200 plus in the next, month or two. And sure enough, though, the stock is down now. It's down to 164. This is the one where I only have one share left. But my average cost was around $100. When the market was crashing big in April, I was buying this stock up at 80, $90. So I'm happy I did that. I mean, I can't complain about the returns. You can't time the market perfectly, but you can sometimes it's hard to judge. Like a stock like this is hard to judge. This is one where, there different things can happen in this industry. I mean, Nvidia is the big competitor here, but AMD has a chance to, really increase their sales and their profit. So the stock could have went to $200 plus, but things like this can happen too, where the stock falls, and who knows, the stock could go back down to 130 or something in the next couple of weeks. So AMD, if we scroll down, we can see I was selling my share. I sold some today. Yeah, the ones I sold today were my other 4 shares at 166. But last week I sold shares at 184, and that's around the price I was selling. So That's AMD. Let's take a look at AMD, the AMD's valuation. This is one where it's like their earnings, their net income was not that high, and the PE ratio was insane. I mean, let's look at forward PE of 45 and a trailing PE of 130. So the whole time I'm looking at that this past week, I'm thinking, I'm like, yeah, I'm like their earnings can increase and stuff, but and yeah, they're in a good space, right? And I'm sure they make great products, but that doesn't mean the valuation can be, 300 times earnings or something. So and see, this one's tough because the graph doesn't look great here. But let's move it all. Let's move it to price to sales, and you can see this one was valued very high. Let's focus in a little bit here. All right, so you look at the last 5 years, right? The price to sales is around a 7 and 8, and we're up to a 10, which is almost at its peak, right? And it normally comes down. So the stock's just richly valued. I mean, you look at what's the market cap's 280 billion, and this company is only doing, let's see, what did they do for net income? Trailing 12 months, net income, where's net income? 2.2 billion, right? Yeah, 2.2 billion dollars. You're going to pay 286 billion dollars for a company that's doing a little bit over 2 billion. Sure, maybe the net income goes to 3 billion or 4 billion. I mean, it's possible, but even 4 billion is a stretch. So, again, I'm happy I sold those shares when I did, and I don't know now that if this bad sentiment kicked in now, I don't know if this stock's going to turn around anytime soon. I think it could keep falling, and then it'll probably just hover at whatever price it decides to stay at, maybe 150, 160, and it'll just sit there for who knows, probably a couple months until AMD comes out with some good news. But I just wanted to share these two examples with you guys because these are two great examples of how you can't, I always preach about you can't time the market perfect, but I also don't want to sit on a stock for years and just, sometimes that works. Sometimes if you pick the right one, you get Amazon or you get Tesla and you buy it at the right time. But even in stocks like that, again, there's a time to sell. It's not just about buying and holding long term because that doesn't always pay you. Like if you can hold a stock for 20 years, but the stock could have went up 1,000% and then come back down, and you're back to where you started. That stuff happens on a long term scale and on a short term scale, like in the span of like 3 to 5 years, and in the span of like 20 to 30 years plus, right? Like look at Tesla. Tesla is real quick. Let's jump on Tesla. Um, Tesla did nothing for a long time before it's just look at in these years it did not do a lot, right? 2015, 2018, these years it didn't do a bunch. But then bam, 2020, things turn around and the stock goes crazy, right? 2021, it goes all the way up here. And then look what happened. Then the next 3 years, it pretty much downtrended, right? And then we got another high in 2024, which that's great. Okay. I mean, I didn't write it out that high because I knew it was, overvalued. Over 300 bucks a share, I thought it was overvalued. But the point is, the the point is these things go up and down. Okay, so sitting and holding long term is not a good strategy in my opinion. Because I mean, look at Tesla. When this stock's gonna come back down to 250 or whatever pretty soon, probably by the end of the year, and then you would have been flat over the past 5 years. If you bought when I bought in early 2020 and you wrote it out, okay, well then you 20x your money, right? So there's a huge difference there between you kind of have to time the market. You just got to pay attention to valuation. You can call it timing the market, but it's really about making smart decisions based off of the valuation. You have to know what you're paying for and how much you're paying. So that's where it goes back to AMD and SMCI, where I bought it cheap. I bought it at good prices, right? But that doesn't mean the stock's going to go up forever. So I want to keep this video short. But if you guys have any questions or anything, or you want to, go back and forth, just comment on the video or message me or something and I can talk about this forever. But the point is, you just got to make smart investments. And AMD was a big pick of mine. This year, I believe I put in over $3,000, and then SMCI I put in like a little bit over 2,000. So those were two of my top 10 picks for this year. The last 8 months, 7 8 months. Those are my top 10 picks. And I made a good amount, 70 80%, I think, right? Yeah, 70 at least 70 80%. So That's good. But now, if things go downhill now and these stocks drop 30%, okay, that's why you don't hold long term. You got to slowly take profits along the way. So that's it. Let's stop it there. But thank you for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video.